Sometimes a decision seems meaningless. Deciding which flavor of chips to select from a hospital vending machine would qualify. While not every choice we make as humans sends a ripple effect, some decisions can change absolutely everything. This is a story about one such decision. Brittany doesn't remember much about the accident that nearly took her life. She was heading home and then she awoke in a hospital. Every part of her felt broken, and wires, tubes, and bandages covered most of her body. She had finally began to heal. She appreciated the hospital's attentive care. Unexpectedly, she found herself also appreciating her RN, Mike. Mike had kind eyes and a captivating smile, neither of which she should be noticing, especially since her husband Scott wouldn't be too pleased with those thoughts. However, Brittany failed to prevent the thoughts from not only entering her mind, but staying there. Over the last 3 weeks, something had changed. Something had started. She wasn't quite sure what it all meant. For one thing, she was confined to a hospital room and bed, so perhaps it was just innocent flirting. Whatever it was, it felt good to Brittany. She decided to entertain the situation, and she was okay with that. It had grown to the point that as soon as Mike left the room, she would become lost in daydreams about the what if. Mike was aware of Scott, but he was also aware of what Brittany had shared with him over the past several weeks. Marital issues, stemming from lying, being mistreated, and laziness, had all become exhausting for her to deal with. Mike became that person to vent to and eventually filled an emotional void she didn't know she was missing, and by the time Scott picked her up after she was discharged, was needing. Brittany's stay at the hospital had ended, but the communication with Mike continued. Not only had it continued, but it had escalated quickly. She felt safe sharing her feelings with him, and he felt significant being able to be there for her. At first, the relationship was limited to text messages that covered every subject imaginable. He made her laugh, he made her think, he made her feel sexy, and he made her feel wanted. This started a fire inside of her that she had never felt before. For Mike, it was a situation he had fallen into completely. While he couldn't relate to the issues Brittany was experiencing in her marriage, he truly believed he had found something with her that made him feel brand new. What Brittany didn't know, however, was that Mike was keeping a few secrets of his own. A deep desire began to stir within Brittany, revealing a side of herself she hadn't known existed. As she traced the lace of her new bra with her finger, she knew she was ready to act. She became meticulous about her appearance, obsessing over her clothes, and especially what lay beneath them, just in case. She carefully studied how she looked before every upcoming meeting with Mike. It was all spiraling forward, and she savored every moment. While Mike did his best to keep his physical desire for Brittany at bay, he knew that something was building within him. He wanted her, badly. As he drove to the restaurant that night, his mind drifted as he fantasized about touching her everywhere. He smiled at the thought of finally discovering her body, of them giving in and getting lost within each other. Over dinner that night, the conversation drifted aimlessly. Work, hobbies, television, favorite foods. But it was all a distraction. Both knew exactly what they wanted to say, yet neither dared to break the seal. When they finally stood to leave, the silence between them hummed with electricity. They both knew the night was far from over. Brittany followed him to the car. She didn't require an invite. The silence between them was heavy with anticipation. They found a room nearby. Once inside, the dam that had held back their urges all evening immediately crumbled. The restraints they had worn was gone, replaced by a reckless driving need that left no room for hesitation. The fire within them spread quickly and dangerously as they both let go, allowing a feverish craving to take over the night. He touched her with a desperate precision, awakening parts of her that had been dormant for years. She met his intensity, her touch frantic and curious, exploring him as if he were a vast, forbidden territory. Their passion spent itself against the sheets, leaving them breathless in the silence of the room. After months of standing on the precipice, Mike and Brittany had finally stepped over the edge. With their energy finally depleted, the intensity of the last few hours released them. They wrapped themselves around one another and drifted off to sleep. Months bled into one another, and with the routine came a dangerous complacency. While Brittany still worked diligently to hide the colossal secret of her affair from Scott, her grip was slipping. She became careless, leaving crumbs of evidence in her wake. Scott had harbored suspicions for quite some time. He had begun to notice things, and eventually, he started searching for evidence to confirm his fears. A few days later, an unlocked phone allowed the worst to be confirmed. Scott scrolled through the thread on Brittany's phone, his breath hitching with every text. Each message felt like a physical blow. The photos she had sent, so intimate and unguarded, made his blood run cold before the heated rage took over. When the first tear finally tracked through his sweat, he could no longer deny the truth he'd spent months trying to avoid. The rage didn't just grow, it calcified. Scott felt the heat of his jealousy and the need for explanations burn away. He embraced something colder and far more dangerous instead. He was done. There was only one focus now, a sharp, singular commitment to revenge. She heard the door, but the shadow was already upon her. Caught in the open, she didn't even have the chance to plead. She stood paralyzed, the confusion in her eyes giving way to a sickening, heavy dread. It took several seconds for her mind to register the cold, damp sensation trickling down her stomach. She looked down. A knife was buried to the hilt, and with it, she felt her breath escaping. She remained there in the quiet, empty house for the rest of the day, a tragic fixture in a room meant for new beginnings. No one discovered her until the next morning, but by then, the silence had already become permanent. Decisions possess an unforgiving gravity, creating ripples that no amount of regret can ever smooth away. The cost is rarely calculated until the damage is done. Even the skies seemed to weep for the darkness now consuming the world, mirroring the storm breaking inside Mike. He stood at the graveside, shattered and wordless, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird desperate for escape.